Hey, how's it going? Back with another video. Here are 25 things that I would like to see in Grand Theft Auto 6. A lot of these I've picked up off of forums and Reddit posts, and a lot of them are just obvious things that really everybody has wanted to see. Let me know what you want to see in the comments. I think a lot of these you're going to agree with. Enjoy. So number 1 on the list is a better economy. Better ways to earn money like passive businesses, realistic prices for things, or a greater degree of earning. I don't play Grand Theft Auto 5 online a lot, but I know that a lot of people do complain about the fact that you're just constantly grinding, and vehicles cost millions upon millions of dollars, clothing is really expensive. Something that would just make your buying power more powerful, I guess is what you could say. I mean, granted, if you went into a pay and spray, and you were charged the actual price for repairing a car, in the real world it would cost you thousands of dollars and not a couple hundred. But something that brings it back down to earth, and also passive ways to earn money. I think they even said that in Grand Theft Auto 5, when the game first came out, we were going to be able to invest in the stock market, but of course that never came into fruition. So again, an improved economy. Number 2 is advanced car customization. So think about things like manual driving, custom liveries, or instead of just simply modifying the engine upgrades to level 1 through 5, you would be able to have turbochargers. Of course, we already have that, but superchargers, just more types of customizations. And I used the Nissan Maxima here as an example because it's otherwise an unassuming 4-door family sedan, but since it's now so customizable, it actually looks like a really cool tuner car. And if every car in the new game got the golden treatment for modification, it would be virtually impossible to find any car that would be boring. And of course, aside from, I think custom liveries would be a huge thing, but even aside from the cosmetic angle, many more mechanical customizations that you could do that would add a wider variety of performance to the car. Number 3 would be improved vehicle physics, proper speed. On top of that, vehicle exhaust notes, acoustics, the way the car actually sounds. Here's a Mercedes AMG that I was messing around with that has modified handling that actually brings the car up to a little bit over 200 miles per hour. And it does seem ridiculous in this game because the cars on the highway are really only driving about 20 miles per hour. I did a video before, you could see me driving realistically in traffic. That's how fast they're actually going. So going 200 miles per hour in this world is completely out of place. It would never be possible. But whatever Grand Theft Auto 6 brings, make it so that somehow, along with the custom modifications, vehicles just have better physics. They handle like real cars. So if you modify one, it doesn't just top out at 136. Granted, I understand that there is a restriction due to the size of the world, but truly realistic car speeds, even going 160 or at least something to give us the illusion that it's going 200 miles per hour, because you can tell sometimes how slow the cars in Grand Theft Auto 5 are actually moving at. Number 4 is a more advanced combat system. Here I'm showing up for some type of fight club, though I don't know why I made it in broad daylight. And that would be a whole new element to Grand Theft Auto, where instead of just running around shooting people, which is obviously basically a cornerstone of Grand Theft Auto, you could hone in on your fighting skills. Maybe there are different studios that you could go to learn different styles of fighting, and it would be cool that when you interact with other pedestrians or NPCs or enemies or players online, and you've sat there this whole time really maxing out your character's fighting ability, that it wouldn't even be close in hand-to-hand combat. Maybe even some type of disarming capabilities, or at least just a leg up if you put time into making your character be able to fight better. So there you have it, more advanced hand-to-hand combat abilities. Number 5 is Enterable interiors. Why these were removed from online is simply beyond me. I didn't even need to install a modification for this because you can see all of the interiors that are still in the game, and they don't drop my frame rate or anything of that sort. They don't make my computer or gameplay sluggish. This would have been a minor feature that, if allowed online, would have added all of these new elements and dynamics to the gameplay. Some people disagree. I've read comments stating that it's not that great, and I think it is. I think that if you're in a chase with somebody, or somebody's following you, or the police are following you, or I don't know, you're role playing, any type of online experience where you can go in interiors makes the game feel more lively. It's something that it doesn't need to be, every single building. No one's saying that every building you should be able to go in, because I guess a lot of them would be repetitive, but there are way too few that you can actually go inside of. So more enterable interiors would be fantastic. I just can't get over how many are actually in this game. Number 6 is surfing, skateboarding, or snowboarding. Any type of extreme sport would be amazing to have. This is a mod I installed where you are actually skateboarding, and at first I thought it was going to be horrible. I thought it would just be me on a reskinned or remodeled bike, and of course you can actually hear the chain in the background, but it begins to get addicting. I understand that Grand Theft Auto is not a skateboarding game, but when I started buzzing around on this thing, you suddenly started like jogging your memory for, wait a second, where's that staircase? Are there any big staircases around here? Are there any rails you could grind on? And it becomes addicting. It absolutely becomes something that from the second you hop on this thing, you just become hooked. And again, you can't keep taking away from the game where it has every single type of game in it in one. But even as a mode of transportation, people would like this. It's not to say that, again, it needs to be the next Tony Hawk, but even as a new way to get around the map, I think a lot of players would love this. And it is about time, maybe, that we have something, or perhaps I'm just saying that so that I hope it makes it into the game. Number 7 is improved detail in underwater environments. Maybe we could come in contact with more shipwrecks, more plane wrecks. If Grand Theft Auto 6 actually is in Florida, which would be cool, you could maybe do something kind of playing off the Bermuda Triangle, off the coast. Maybe run into some type of underwater cave with scuba diving. There's a lot you could do with underwater, and I hope to see more of it. It's always so fun exploring. Number 8 would be a more diverse real estate market. This is obvious to what it means. Just, you could buy a townhome, you could buy a single family home, you could buy a mansion, you could buy really any type of home that you would want to live in. Out here, it would also be kind of cool to maybe have like a common area where everybody that's a resident in the building could congregate. And yeah, there's just so many different types of styles of houses that you could live in. So I understand why Grand Theft Auto 5 has limited these, because there's only so many things that you could possibly add in a game. But with Grand Theft Auto 6, it would be nice, as you can see here in the next clip, to be able to just live in a tiny little studio apartment that's unassuming, that has a one-car garage. I don't know if off-street parking would work, just because of, you're sharing it with other players. And here you'll see that a mansion would be a cool possibility. This would function the exact same way as an apartment would. You would just drive up, you'd enter a loading screen, and as opposed to appearing in a 20-car garage, you would appear in a 2-car garage, and you could walk up to the front, and you would just appear inside, and everybody would have their own customizable mansion. In my opinion, I would probably go for just a modern single-family home. I don't really like the balling lifestyle. I like something a little more modest, but it would be a really excellent addition, and I think it's something that is almost guaranteed because of how many people have requested it. Number 9 is a larger variety of things to spend money on besides cars, clothing, and weapons. I'm sure many of the viewers watching could come up with a bunch of new categories as to what this is, and Rockstar does want us spending money, of course, because it goes to the shark cards. And that's not said in a rude, spiteful type of way. Rather, if we're going to spend money, give us more categories to actually use our earnings on. We have a jewelry store. This is just a certain example. Of course, it's clothing, but it's, well, it's not clothing, but it's something you wear. It's a wearable. But it's higher end. Yeah, there's so many empty stores out there on the main street that plenty of them could be filled with new things to buy. Let me know in the comments what you think they should add. Number 10 is less geographical sparsity. No more ghost towns, empty deserts, or reduced population regions. I mean, even if you did have them in the game, it would just need to be something where there's more going on. I know that with Grand Theft Auto 5, since it's based in California, that, yeah, there are a bunch of deserts, but seen here, this is a mod that adds a bunch of buildings to the Sandy Shores area. And maybe it's overkill, maybe it's turned the whole thing into a city, which defeats the purpose, but something in the middle where there's just a little more happening and it's not a totally open, boring, unused desert. Number 11 is more advanced aircraft realism. So you could have a ton of different things to work from with this. With this F-22 Raptor I'm flying in the video, it is way too fast for Grand Theft Auto 5 because it moves at such a quick speed, the map feels tiny. But if we do happen to get, which I hope we do, but there's really no telling, a larger map in the next game, I hope that the aircrafts move faster, and even things for dogfights. If there is a more intricate type of system, where you now have new missile types or different ammunition types for the airplanes. I know that they have this, but a really, really cool overhaul for people that like dogfights and love flying airplanes. And a quicker speed really would help as well. It does add to the realism. Number 12 is a little bit controversial, and it would be nerfing the ability to outright own all of these types of military aircrafts. Go back to stealing them, even if it's just for the beginning of the game, the initial release, and make it so that privatizing these types of aircrafts and vehicles is just a little bit harder. Number 13 is less of the futuristic stuff, less of the flying cars, the flying motorcycles, or maybe even make it so that you could choose in between different lobbies. Maybe a classic mode, a traditional mode. Number 14 is a more elaborate police system. Maybe now you could get pulled over. You could actually get arrested. I know you can be busted in the single player version, but online it would be cool if you could, I don't know, get ticketed or actually arrested or have a warrant out for your arrest. Just a police system that consists of more than ramming you off the road and turning you into Swiss cheese. Number 15 would be some forms of public transportation, whether it be taxis or buses. As seen in the video, you can actually get on this bus with this modification and basically go to a multitude of stops. Or let's say the map is simply enormous and you can't pay to have your own private plane because you're just not there yet, or you want to save money and you don't want to buy one. It would be cool to be able to go to the airport and purchase a ticket, and you could fly to one of the surrounding airports. I don't know, public transportation? Maybe just steal a car. Number 16 is more diversity with NPC interactions and behaviors. I could be driving through the city and come across a car meet. Maybe I could go up and race people, make some money, or just even on the smaller scale, walking up and you bump into a pedestrian, they freak out, start trying to beat you up, and the next time you do that, they don't. Just different more natural, realistic behavior each time. Here I'm at the airport, and there are a bunch of people surrounding who is meant to be a very important public figure. But if you went to the airport, and sometimes scenarios like these randomly cropped up. Number 17 is different builds and body types for your character. So you could be ripped, heavier set, or you could be skinny. And maybe this would even be reflective of if you exercise or if you're eating too much in the game or not eating enough. This guy is an absolute unit, as you can see, so that would be a benefit of, I guess, being heavier set. You just don't care. Number 18 is a greater number of players online. I'm not sure what modern day consoles can actually support, but if they couldn't support a way larger number than what we see for Grand Theft Auto 5, maybe some type of illusion put to work, where at least it feels like we're around a larger number of players with more exciting environments. Number 19 is difference in activity from day to night. So if you were to be driving down some nondescript back road in the middle of the day, nothing would be there, or maybe you'd see a hitchhiker or something like that. But then if you went back at night, that's when the morbid side would come out and you'd see that police crime scene going on. Or if you were to go to a restaurant and you were to arrive at 10 o'clock a.m., nobody would be there. Maybe some people would be having breakfast. But if you came back at 11 o'clock at night or 10 p.m., you would see this going on. A bunch of people partying. These are all things that would make the game drastically feel more alive, like a real living, breathing world. Number 20 is a higher number of explorative places. When I'm walking through the woods, I think it's always interesting to run into something that you've never seen before. This, of course, is not in the game originally. It's been added in. But if you were to come across many types of regions that truly you've never encountered, maybe abandoned homes or crime scenes, or just as how they added the body bags underwater, things like that. Grand Theft Auto is not always about just shooting and gun running. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do without any weaponry at all. And I think because the maps have always been so big and interesting, exploring has always been very fun. So new regions to explore, new things to run into. 21 is more additions of the supernatural. In Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, we always heard people talking about Bigfoot sightings, which weren't actually true. But in Grand Theft Auto 5, they actually did have a bunch of excellent stuff. UFO sightings, the ghost that appears on the mountain at a specific time. And if we had more of that, it would really add to that traditional Rockstar type of supernatural additions that they have. Just as if you were to be walking through the woods at 3 a.m., looking over the military base, and this is what you see. An alien encounter. More of that kind of stuff. Monsters, anything. 22 is an increase in interactable objects or environments. Here I'm pulling up to the gym, and it would be nice if you could go into the gym, and as opposed to everything just being a static object or an environment, you could actually lift weights. Your character could actually get in shape. He could gain muscle, or if he doesn't go there a lot, he could lose muscle. If you went to a coffee shop, you could actually buy a coffee. Of course, this could be expanded into so many more things that would have the world appear to you as really living and breathing. I thought this was quite convenient that they had so many of these animations to portray the point of more interactable scenarios. 23, in my personal opinion, is something that we absolutely must have, which is the ability to enter car dealerships, to go into them in person, and buy a car from there. I don't know how many of you have actually been to an exotic car dealership in person. Maybe some of you actually own exotic cars, but there is something extraordinarily special about just standing around these vehicles, just showroom floors of them. And it's more I don't know how you'd put it. There's something that is just way cooler about purchasing one, standing next to it, as opposed to doing it through a thumbnail on your phone or from a computer. I actually think that this will be a feature, or at least I hope so. 24 is true destruction, or a more elaborate way of showing damage. If a plane were to come in to crash land as opposed to just the wings popping off and a ball of fire coming out, maybe it would fracture differently each time. Maybe the wings would splinter differently each time, or it would explode more on one impact as it would on another. There are a lot of things that you could do for destructible environments, so I hope to see that coming to Grand Theft Auto 6 in the future. 25, I kid you not, was going to be an announcement of any type. And it turns out that just a couple of days after recording all the footage for this, Rockstar comes along and acknowledges the fact that there actually is going to be a new Grand Theft Auto in the works, in the franchise. So the timing for that is absolutely bizarre. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video.